The AeroQuip Pro Crimp FT1390 is designed to crimp Eaton high-quality hose assemblies, including thermoplastic, textile braid, Teflon, suction, wire braid, and spiral through 2.5 inch. Before we begin, here are some important factors to keep in mind. You must always follow the outlined process and product instructions to ensure you have a safe and properly crimped hose assembly. This includes observing the Eaton hose tolerances for all AeroQuip hoses and hose ends. Do not use Eaton hose fittings on hoses from other manufacturers or AeroQuip hoses with hose fittings other than those made by Eaton. This video will explain the proper procedure for crimping a hose assembly correctly. However, you should always read the operator's manual thoroughly before attempting to operate this or any other crimping equipment. Remember, the operator's manual is your best source for information about the operation and maintenance of the Pro Crimp FT1390. It includes troubleshooting tips, electrical and hydraulic schematics, die cage parts and part numbers, and a machine diagram and parts list. Before you attempt to operate your Pro Crimp FT1390 machine, it's imperative that you read the important safety information located in the front of the Eaton AeroQuip Hose Assembly Master Catalog. Always wear safety glasses. Be aware of loose-fitting clothing that can get caught in the equipment, and avoid wearing any jewelry when operating the machine. Keep your hands clear of all moving parts at all times. Never let anyone operate this equipment that has not been properly trained. Use care when handling the dies. Never insert or remove dies when the power is on. Never allow two people to operate the machine at the same time. The Pro Crimp FT1390 is a freestanding machine and requires no special mounting. The electronic controls found on this machine have simplified all aspects of the crimping process. Settings to crimp your most popular hose styles can be programmed into electronic presets on the display panel. This process reduces the steps and time it takes to complete a job. The front-loading design offers good visibility and easy operation. Standard equipment includes a flexible work light to help assure accurate fitting positioning. With the fitting locator, multiple identical hose assemblies are produced quickly. The Pro Crimp FT1390 comes with a foot switch, which allows the operator to use both hands to hold large hose assemblies during crimping. The Pro Crimp FT1390 has two separate styles of die cages available for crimping the wide range of hoses and fittings. There are drop-in die cages, which are self-contained within the die set. We will review both die set options and how to properly crimp finished hose assemblies using these systems. The keypad allows you to adjust certain settings on Pro Crimp FT1390, and it's the key to this variable crimper. To better understand the keypad and the display, turn on the power located at the front of the machine. The work light and display will come on to indicate you have power. To enter a target setting, press the Enter button. The green light comes on. Immediately press the 3 numerical buttons that coincide with a specified target setting. After the third number is entered, the 3-digit number will remain on the display. You have only 5 seconds to enter a number, or the display will revert back to the previous setting. The display number itself is a relative number, not the crimp diameter. The unit is programmed to show the ratio of the crimp diameter change to the display change in a 1-to-1 crimp ratio. For example, if a fitting is crimped to a setting of 250 and the crimp diameter is 14 thousandths too large, the display must be changed by 14 thousandths or to a display of 236 to produce the correct crimp diameter. The Enter button is used to load any 3-digit number into the display. The numbered keys have two functions. In the Enter mode, the numeric value appears in the display, and in the Store mode, they retain a display setting. The Pro Crimp FT1390 has a memory to retain up to 10 of the most common or frequently used fitting target settings. To store a number from the display as a preset, press the Enter button and enter a 3-digit number. Then press and release the Store button. The green light next to the Store button lights up when working in the Store mode. Finally, hold down any one of the 10 numerical buttons for 3 seconds. When the green light switches from the Store button to the numbered button and stays lit, this setting has been saved. To recall a setting from the presets, first make sure the Store and Enter lights are off. If not, don't touch anything, and in about 5 seconds they will go off. Press the button corresponding to the storage setting you want to recall. That setting will appear in the display, and you are now ready to make a crimp with that saved setting. To shorten the cycle time for multiple crimp strokes, you can stop the cylinder before reaching the fully retracted position by simply pressing and releasing the retract switch, or tapping the foot switch, once there is sufficient clearance to insert the next fitting. You can program the unit to stop before the cylinder has completely retracted, something that is especially helpful if you're making multiple assemblies and do not want to wait for the unit to completely retract. Using the crimped retract switch, place the cylinder in the position where you want it to stop during retraction. Press and hold the Enter button for 3 seconds. The display will show 000. When the display returns to the original setting, the green light beside the Enter button will go out. The cylinder will now automatically stop at this point every time you make a crimp. Remember, you must press and hold the retract switch to fully retract the cylinder when you're done making these multiple crimps or when you need to change the die cage. This will not change the preset retracting position, but if you turn the power to the machine off, then it will erase the programmed stop setting. Before we make an actual hose assembly, let's review some basic procedures. Start with the proper hose and hose end selection. Always refer to the Eaton AeroQuip Hose Assembly Master Catalog for the proper Eaton AeroQuip series of hoses and hose ends. Be sure that the hose and hose ends you select are components designed and approved for the type of application for which the hose assembly is being used. The first step is measuring and then cutting the hose to the proper length. If you are not familiar with making hose assemblies, be sure you allow for what is called the cutoff factor. Remember, the overall length of the hose includes the hose ends, and you must allow for this additional length before cutting the hose. The cutoff factors for hose ends are found in the Eaton AeroQuip Master Hose Assembly Catalog. Be sure the cut is both square and clean. To ensure that the hose end will be fully inserted into the fitting, mark the hose from the end to a length equal to the scribe line on the fitting socket. Now insert the hose into the end fitting up to the mark. Be sure that the end of the hose is fully inserted into the fitting. This is necessary to ensure a proper crimp. Let's begin with the proper procedure for using the drop-in die cages. Inserting the die cage is easy. The proper Eaton tooling must always be selected. Refer to the published Eaton AeroQuip crimp specifications or download them from Eaton's website. You must select the correct die cage and crimp setting for the approved hose and fitting combination. Install the die cage into position with the alignment slots and the shoulder bolts. You can tell if it's properly installed if it looks like this. For the first time and periodically thereafter, lubricate the exterior taper of the crimp die with the Eaton Anti-Seize lubricant supplied with the machine. Next, either select a preset button or enter the proper value into the keypad. Insert the hose and hose end into the die cage from the front. Line up the scribe line or indicated crimp location so that it is slightly inside the die cage, about 1/32 of an inch. Next, hold the hose firmly with one hand and press the crimp switch with the other hand, or depress and hold down the foot switch. The die cage will continue forward until the fitting is fully crimped. It will then stop and begin to retract. Once the crimp has been completed, measure the nominal crimp diameter using calipers or a point micrometer. Readings should be taken across all 4 sets of flats and averaged. Compare the reading to the specification listed in the crimp specifications chart used to prepare and complete the hose assembly crimp. If the crimp is not correct, follow the previously described steps to ensure an accurate crimp diameter is achieved. Once you have a proper crimp, this assembly procedure may now be repeated for the other hose end by following the identical steps used for the first crimp fitting. Here is how to set the adjustable backstop to help you quickly produce multiple identical assemblies. Completely turn off the power to the machine. Never attempt this while the machine is powered on. First, align the fitting in the correct position. Loosen the thumb screw on the backstop and slide the locator cone against the fitting. Don't press too hard. This will compress the spring and that will change the accuracy of the position. Tighten the thumb screw and turn the power back on. Proceed with crimping the required hose assemblies. One final reminder, safety should never be compromised under any circumstances. Be sure the unit is properly positioned before use and follow all the safety procedures outlined in this video and in the manual when the machine is being operated. By following the proper setup and operating instructions, you can make dependable Eaton hose assemblies every time using the Pro Crimp FT1390 crimp machine. If there's a problem or if you have any questions, consult the crimping procedures found in the Eaton Pro Crimp FT1390 Operator's Manual or contact Eaton Technical Support. Crimp with confidence. Connect with Eaton.